close to heck. Nice. Yep, I'm up to 6 mil now and 145. Nice, not bad. passive regen to 38. Neighbors are burning trash and it smells so bad. Oh, I've got tallow and a mouse. Oh, I got up it. Hey, snatch your mama. Hey, you came back. How are you? How are you, little kitty? Doing okay? Yeah, you want to sit? Hey. Aw, kitty. Aw, little kitty. Yo, she's such a great kitty. What? Ah. Knowing how this was closed before, but now it's open. Good kitty. You want to lie down closer to me? There. Yeah. Look at the kitty. She's so regal and beautiful. Yeah, let's get you on the camera, huh? Yeah. Oh, you beautiful kitty. Oh, look at her roll. She's so cute. Oh, rubber belly. Rubber cute belly. Yeah, you get a belly rub, kitty. You're worth your weight in gold, kitty. Yeah. Purr, purr, purr. She's so cute. You're so cute, kitty. You're so cute. Okay, it's my camera. My camera. 18 to 1. I've hit the wall. I can't bust 144. I don't know. Take Los Santos Savior. I do. Questionable dignity at 12 to 1. Hey, how you doing? How you doing, kitty? You digging this? You like being close to me? Yeah? That's good. I like being close to you too, kitty. Yeah. Poor kitty, she's a little bored. You can tell that she's bored. She's at no scratch. Satisfying watching the fucking arrows through their face. Yeah, I'm learning to just land the hits, and that's the best way to just win. Land every fucking hit really accurately. Take your time with it and really like aim. Guess I'll have to sit down. Yeah, my passive regen is pretty good. I got 2 points left. My passive regen is a secondary. didn't use my cooldown that time. I won. Oh, I got my clay level. Nice. That's gonna make this easier. Damn, that happened faster than I thought. Look, my passive regen's really good now. I don't need to bandage. Solo bro. Too calm will just make it harder for them to kill me. It's nice. Oh, almost meleeed a guard. Whoa there. Oh, cute kitty. $20 to 1. 8 to 1. Damn it. Rock Shanley. I like the low FOV. I'm going to keep it. sauce. With the kingdom. Caught robocall for 50K. I'm back up to 147. don't kill my pig. No. Oh well. I had him for a long time. Thought we were doing well there, but there was another one I didn't realize. Oh well. I'm not perfect and I'm still learning. I'm a little tougher and harder to kill. It's good. Oh god, I love having my own priest. Hell yeah. I'll buy a vendor next and I'll clean out my house. There's a guy on a horse with a black cloak. There's two of them. One of them just left render. I'm just gonna leave it, I guess. Pedestrian. Yeah, I'm gonna stop. I've hit cap, I think. I've been in the casino too long. I'm gonna leave. Go turn in one more bunker mission. And then I will turn the game off. Fucking annoying. Nice, I was able to do it. Don't know why I couldn't do that while I had a pig. Fucking annoying. I don't mind losing the pig, kind of, because it's like, you know, one less thing I have to worry about. My other character is really chunky, and I could switch them to archery, and or I don't know, like like archery and yeah. archery and axe. I'm addicted to this stupid bow. Oh, there goes that set. I sold some food. Nice. This cost me 10 gold, I guess, and I you know, I don't see a point in even getting angry. The sets are so cheap that, like, I don't see a point in getting angry. Even angry over it is so fucking cheap. The set's so cheap that I honestly don't care. I don't care that it happened. It's PvP on a PvP game. I'm gonna try and get better about the fucking anger. I'm just gonna resolve to be like, well, I died, and just, you know, what's the point of fucking getting angry? It doesn't do anything except, you know, up my blood pressure and. I would have loved GTA 5 so much if I was a kid. Stock and supplies are out. How does you live?
I hate what you're looking for. Only the best for you. Nice talking to you. I have what you're looking for. Thank you. Please, come again.
I don't understand why my priest wouldn't resurrect me. I don't understand that. I didn't realize it was that cheap to get up and get this gear. It's like, I don't know, it's like 9 gold something, which is fine. That's what I just made from a turn-in, you know. You left everything. You took the crappy 4 gold bow. And I'm not even upset. All I lost was a bow. Nice, I'm not so sad. I believe I will cook something for dinner now. I will be right back. God, I put vinegar on it. Hello, kitty. I put vinegar on my dinner, which I didn't mean to do. Which is what is that? Hi, kitty. Yeah, you. Hey. Yeah, you. You. Hey. I love you. Hey. Marie, what you whining about? What's up, kitty? You bored? Yeah? You bored, kitty? I love you, baby. I love you. Okay. Going back to work, kitty. Yeah, you can ride. Yeah, you can sit on me. Hey. Hey. Hello, the kitty. Dig, don't scratch. Well, this was annoying, but oh, kitty. Took me back to you. I think I'm done with this now. Yeah. Oh, hello, the kitty.
10. Why in the world would anybody buy this thing?
Bum Fights was its own, like, wake up one day and think, what the fuck did we just do? And for those who think there haven't been consequences, it's like, there have 20 years of them. Going back, wouldn't do that again. Some of my favorite artists ever are the ones that are always on some different shit. We have this body of work where you don't know what your entry to In Decline was. It could have been through graffiti, it could have been from our theatrical background. You can't really put your finger on, like, what it is we do because we haven't done the same thing for 20 plus years. Like, we like getting involved in things that we're technically, like, have no business being involved in.
Brothers. Got a question for you guys. Where exactly is the line between exploitation and documentation? It's a question that I've pondered for quite some time as a journalist, yet haven't really reached a definitive answer on. Is it ethical to film somebody in an extremely vulnerable state if what you captured delivers an important message about the historical realities of that moment? It seems to be a question that each prominent documentary filmmaker has a different answer to. I've generally followed the motto, shoot most things, and then make the decision in post-production on whether or not to publish it to the world. But the first time I can recall actually withholding footage forever was back in 2018, when a teenager freely confessed to an accidental homicide in Louisiana. And then a year later in 2019, when I stumbled upon an illegal, full-nude Down syndrome strip club in Alabama, wherein the stripper poles were installed in the beds of pickup trucks that were gathered in a circle, and the cash tips were going to the parents of the dancers. In an ideal world, I would have called the sheriff, but the sheriff was there drinking a beer. There's also been other situations where I declined to interview somebody for ethical reasons. Most recently, 2 weeks ago, actually about 3 weeks ago now, but I made contact with an escaped New Orleans jail inmate named Antoine Massey, who's since been captured. He hit me up on Instagram about doing an in-person interview about the conditions inside jail that made him want to escape, which I was very excited to conduct before learning that Antoine Massey was convicted of some crimes that aren't so cool. Cool crimes to me is like bank robbery, wire fraud, or petty cocaine possession, not aggravated domestic battery. Still, given the news value of the story, I was still down for a quick interview if I could establish early on that he was in jail for bad reasons. But then Mr. Massey asked me for a $500 Cash App deposit, which my lawyer told me would be considered aiding and abetting a fugitive, so I had to pass. Anyways, some of my favorite documentary films and movies have been ones that did walk that line. I can remember the Harmony Korine movie called Gunboat that I saw in high school, which wasn't a documentary film, but it kind of felt like one. And it featured scenes of glue-huffing, animal-abusing kids in Ohio doing some crazy stuff. Though it was hard on the eyes, there was a deeper message about the spiritual melancholy in the post-industrial rural Midwest around the turn of the millennium, which, if you can remember, if you were alive during Y2K, was an era marked by liberal optimism and the celebration of technological advancement. Despite being called the worst film of the year by the New York Times in 1999, who considered the film to be crass and exploitative, Korine defended Gunmo, explaining that he was merely acting as a passive voyeur in an existent reality, who happened to press record in a typical environment that's outside the confines of polite society. However, there have been other celebrated controversial documentary films where the director went beyond the role of a voyeur and actually imposed his will on the primary subject of the film to make a point. One of those was The Act of Killing, directed by Joshua Oppenheimer, released in 2012. The film, if you haven't seen it, follows a man named Anwar Congo, who was the leader of a US-backed anti-communist death squad that perpetrated the Indonesian mass killings of 1965, which killed up to 100,000 people. In the third act of the film, Oppenheimer helps to organize a theatrical reenactment of these exact massacres, wherein Congo must play a victim of the massacres in one of the scenes, which caused him to undergo a panic attack and temporarily come to terms with the harm that he'd caused. Though ultimately Congo did snap back into denialism and bravado. Now, in facilitating this transformative theatrical moment, Oppenheimer stepped beyond the role of a passive documentarian to create plot structure, and he was really heralded as a genius for doing that, and I kind of agree. I think it's an amazing film. But today, we're not going to be talking about Harmony Korine or Joshua Oppenheimer. We're going to be talking about a film that received really only controversy without much props outside these skateboard and graffiti worlds, despite being the highest sold underground DVD of 2002. Selling over 250,000 copies. That film was called Bum Fights Volume 1, A Cause for Concern. It was created and distributed by 4 then high school students from La Mesa, California and Las Vegas, who took inspiration from the wild internet of the late 90s and early 2000s in the wake of Gummo and Jackass success, when America's countercultural youth was in a sociopathic arms race to make the craziest content possible. Bum Fights, as the name implies, featured videos of bums fighting, and mostly revolved around the life and times of Donnie and Rufus, 2 homeless individuals known to La Mesa, California high school kids as the local stunt bums, far before the camera started rolling. For reference, Donnie and Rufus were hardened local alcoholics who'd become micro-celebrities in the area for a proposition they'd often make to teenagers. Give us beer, and we'll do any stunt you'd like in return, whether it be running into milk crates, getting inside of shopping carts and running into walls, pulling teeth out, and beyond. So a group of kids decided to film them and pay extra beer and extra money for crazier and crazier stunts. Those youths were Ryan McPherson, Daniel Tanner, Zachary Bubeck, and Michael Slyman, who put together bum fights to show other kids in the area, adding a cause for concern to the end of the title to emphasize the fact that they believed that what they put together was a mirror of street life that reflected the uncomfortable realities and how far some people will go to feed their addictions. The problem was, Ryan and the guys were the ones paying for it. Needless to say, bum fights traveled from La Mesa across the entire planet at a rate in which the videographers couldn't imagine, resulting in
bum fights got famous very fast.
Reasons, lawsuits, and even the arrest of the directors for illegal prize fighting. In far over their heads, Ryan, then not even 20 years old, sold the rights away for all future sequels and stepped away from bum fights for good, to focus on an independent artistic venture called Indecline, which today has evolved into one of the most radical and, you guessed it, controversial art collectives in the country. They've installed life-sized, butt-naked, nude statues of Trump across the country, painted giant anti-war murals on military training grounds, hijacked dozens upon dozens of billboards, usually with anti-consumerist messaging, and even installed the largest piece of illegal graffiti in U.S. history out in the Mojave Desert. So essentially, they're still inciting chaos, but in a controlled, direct manner, not involving the homeless. Anyways, these guys have had quite the storied career, from teenage infamy to an adulthood and radical art activism. And what you're about to watch or hear, if you're on Spotify or Apple Music, is one of their first candid interviews ever, which we filmed in a warehouse outside Las Vegas. If you're a first-time viewer, my name is Andrew Callahan, and this is our new long-form show called Fivecast, which is kind of a podcast type of deal. It's a bit of a departure from our typical punchy style of infield content. For me, this new show has been a bit of a breath of fresh air, and I hope you guys like it. Anyways, here it is,
very
an
interesting.
exclusive interview with 2 of
Go,
the
Andrew!
who, for their own safety, would like to remain anonymous. All right, we straight? All right, action. We're currently here in Las Vegas. It's about 98 degrees. Is this a typical day in town?
Yeah, I'd say this is probably pretty typical, you know, just uncomfortable enough to be just absolutely unbearable and inspiring.
So before we get into the arts, career, and trajectory, let's talk about Las Vegas proper itself. You guys are de facto artistic representatives of Clark County and Las Vegas. What is one thing you want people to understand about this place that they might not be aware of?
Well, it's like a big, like suburban kind of sprawl with like a really grimy center. Yeah, kind of grimy, chewy center that they're doing a lot to try to rehabilitate, but it kind of gives you a place to go get into trouble, you know, and then a reason to like have that angst at the world. If you grew up here too, like this isn't like growing up in a lot of parts of the country. Like summers in Las Vegas, when you're out of school, you're dealing with 116-degree heat. You're not going to a beach, you're not skateboarding, you're not like, you have to get creative. And there's, you know, no matter what you do, no matter how much water you drink, like the heat does something to you. Coming here and meeting all the different people that like grew up here properly, like you definitely see that little edge, you know, to the people that have put in enough summers in Las Vegas. Like they're a special kind of activated for sure.
So when you guys first moved here, was there a sprawling suburbia like Henderson and stuff, or was it more compact?
Yeah. That was all there. It's like it's just always been an expanding. The best way to describe it was every time I would fly to Las Vegas from anywhere, it seemed like you would reach it sooner. Like there was this one point in time you get coming at night and it would just be this little illuminated dot in the middle of nothing. And then you just kept hitting it sooner and sooner. It would just be all the, the Summerlins and the Green Valleys and all that. So they've just expanded it, and, now most people say they live in Las Vegas, but they're 50 minutes from the Strip.
But do you think it's the consumerist nature of the city itself that's made it a ripe target for the kind of work y'all do?
Yeah, well, you gotta think it's a city built by the mob. So they came out here, and then when the giant corporations took it over, they sanitized it, but it's more or less the same ethos. Like, it's one of the few cities in the world where people jump off those casinos all the time.
A person is dead after jumping from the South Point parking garage.
That is not like an urban myth either. You talk to anybody who works in them, and it's like, we had one time a play that we eventually made. The whole genesis of the idea is that someone was sitting in the office and they had a dude standing on top of a casino ready to jump, and it was just like the standoff. This is like capitalism on steroids out here. They just produce an amount of wealth it's hard to imagine, like Tesla wealth, and it's all off this illusion that consumption can fix everything, that you're always one, hot streak away from this lifestyle that's unsustainable, the comped rooms, all the big wins, it's like the hooker girlfriend on the weekend. It's like, it really is America at its best and worst, however you want to take that. And one of my first recollections of Las Vegas was the tunnels. It was within the first week of ever coming here as an adult. I went down there on a tour with Aware, and he was painting, and I experienced that and experienced what it was like to stand however many meters underneath multi-billion-dollar casinos as these people are shooting drugs and living in sewers. To sort of get Indecline off the ground here, this city really it creates the kind of work and statements that's it's perfect for an Indecline.
So it gives you a lot to work with.
Absolutely.
There's a billboard up that is sure to make people look twice. It says, "Shoot a kid."
2 mannequins hanging from nooses on billboards.
So backing all the way up, what is Indecline and what's the kind of ethos and mission?
We're technically, for some kind of terminology, an artist collective. It's pretty organic. There's not like a sign-up sheet. We're not like the Shriners or, like the Oddfellows or anything, but we work together on all sorts of different projects. People kind of come in and out based on the project because everybody has different talents. And
I was a member of an artist commune in Denver once. It was amazing.
We are personality based.
People were so cool.
Is that we try to work with whoever is going to make the idea come to life. The name Indecline kind of gives you some idea of what it's about. We certainly came from harder edged kind of out of the 90s and this gummo sensibility, but it's the idea that a lot of the things, when you look at the political situation today, everybody would tell you politics are pretty fucked. But in the late 90s to the early 2000s, this is peak neoliberalism. Everybody thought America was, Wonder Bread and fucking, Monopoly and McDonald's, and it was pretty widely viewed by the citizens here as a good thing, everything else taken for granted. So I think the original ethos that we came out of was to try to show what's going on underneath that fuels the illusion or the dream, the capitalist dream of infinite consumption and infinite wealth, at the expense of sweatshops and, desperate homeless population living in the tunnels. And structurally, it was always really important to make sure that we have so many elements to what we do artistically. You know, and 20 plus years in, you know, tonight we have a theatrical piece. We've got, you know, the film side of things and the documentaries and all that and the performance art, but we've got the guerrilla art installations and the graffiti element and like the punk background. And so one of in the Billboard liberation history. So it's the thing that kind of like helps and hurts us the most. It distinguishes us from a lot of different groups in that you can't really put your finger on like what it is we do because we haven't done the same thing for 20 plus years. Like we like getting involved in things that we're technically like have no business being involved in for fear of just getting like burnt out and bored. Like the point of activism is to have fun. Like, contrary to popular belief, if you're going to engage in this kind of stuff, you need to have fun. It needs to serve a therapeutic purpose as much as it serves a public service purpose.
What do you think's the most fun you've ever had doing a spot or doing an installation?
What's up?
I mean, speaking for myself, like, it's really the quiet moments in the midst of the chaos that I really like revel in. So it's being in between a billboard at 4 in the morning in the deep south with like 2 of your best friends. Yeah, you just feel invincible up there. You know, the lights are killed. Yeah, you got your little, like, you know, in the car, you've got your post-job cookie, to, you know, your little treat that you're going to get for yourself. There's just been so many of those moments where you can just take a second and be like, we're 100 feet up in the air right now in Arkansas, and in 2 hours the sun is going to come up, and this city's going to lose its fucking mind.
And what did that particular billboard say?
It was discovered why Jesus created anal, and there was a hand holding the Bible, and we added shit to the fingers. We changed Holy Bible to Holy Shit, and it was just like, probably of all of our work, the most like South Park, just fart and dick joke thing. But we, you know, it was just like, you gotta throw those in every once in a while. And sure enough, like the next morning, cops were stopping cars on the road. You know, I mean, it was like meltdown.
And is this near Little Rock you did this, or is this like Bumfuck Central?
That was like a rural one. It's funny because you trade one thing for the other. When you're in Los Angeles doing billboards, when you're in New York doing billboards, you're looking out for the cops. You're looking out for people. There's billions of surveillance cameras. When you're in the Deep South doing billboards, you're looking out for the pickup truck. There's really no cops. Surveillance is it's going to be dogs and the random truck that pulls up.
So it's good old boys seeking retribution against the liberals.
But the benefit and the leg up you have in the South is that if you're in Los Angeles and you look up and you see someone on a billboard, think of the graffiti towers. Like, most people know, all right, it's 3 in the morning, there's guys on billboards that are probably tagging it. Like, you could do a billboard at 5:30 in the afternoon, provided you're not writing anal on it in broad daylight. But there's an argument to be made, and we ultimately started doing them at 8 o'clock at night, you know, which was surreal to, like, go home and get a good night's rest and not be doing it leading up to the sunrise, because there was this whole, okay, well, we got to do it as close to sunrise as possible so it's running when the sun comes up so the press can come and they can get it and people can see it. If you do it too early, someone's going to see it, it's going to be down in the middle of the night, it's like it never happened.
So there's midnight buff crews in some of these states?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, if you're doing something off Melrose, you know, it's like there's enough ambient light, you can turn the billboard lights off, but like somebody's going to see it, and if the message is like crazy enough, they're going to know that it's not some like wacky dispensary writing something, you know what I mean? They're like, hey, that's probably
some sort of like paid street art marketing campaign.
Totally.
Right.
Which, you know, like it's just, you could write a whole book on it, like all the pros and cons, because like to that point in LA, you could write something pretty outlandish and people could be like, well, of course it says Trump's a cunt on the billboard. Like, it's probably a CrossFit gym.
And those corporations that do take on guerrilla marketing campaign tactics.
Absolutely. Yeah. And then it's fun to like take them on. You know what I mean? Like, we were doing Coachella ones because they try to be all clever. So it's like, you go fuck with those ones too. So.
Yeah, it's like the third dimension.
Yeah, exactly.
You're trolling the appropriators.
There you go. Yeah.
For you, what do you think's the spot that you've been the most stoked on, to the project that gave you the most gratification?
It's tough because it's kind of like him. The points that like I enjoy the most are usually when we're hiding, because those are the moments that you'll stop and it's like you get a lot of adrenaline, and especially if you're hiding for a while, it can be boring. It's like hopping trains. You're on there for a long time. It takes a lot of time. And you'll like look up and you'll be like, wow, it's a pretty night out, you know?
Yeah,
and
so it's those sort of solemn moments where you're like, your heart is pumping. A better question is, like, as far as feedback goes, what's an example where you feel like the message really hit home in the way that you intended?
I mean, I got a kick out of when we did the thing with Wildman shaking his hand afterwards, you know, because you just sat there for an hour and this dude is just like ripping the most foul shit out, like really going to town. And at the end, you just get to shake his hand and be like, it's really nice to meet you, man. I hope you appreciate what we do. The mural, don't let me forget before I leave. If it's not raining, I want to go up there, if that's cool, and get some pictures so we can.
Okay.
But you're still okay with us coming back and touching that up?
Yeah, it's okay. You do anything you want to do. I'm glad to have you.
Okay.
I'm always glad to meet an enterprising entrepreneur.
Don't say we can do anything. We'll put a bunch of Smurfs up there. We'll put a bunch of Antifa Smurfs up there.
Thank you very much.
And it's like, it's all straight face because it's like, it's a hustle. He thinks, you know, he has no idea we're coming back at 2 in the morning to do Smurfs, Antifa Smurfs, which is also just hilarious, underrated. I think a lot of those, the message gets delivered, but there's probably 2 articles about it on the internet, and it's like, you know, but the people that know about it, it's insane. But you go to like the Trump Hotel and you install the jail and do the flags, and I'm not saying that project wasn't special and cool, but to me that's just like, you tee it up for him. You know, we invited the press in, so the feedback was nuts. It was the front page of the, you know, the Post the next day, and it was like a whole thing. We've been doing this long enough where you kind of have to take those moments with a grain of salt, and you need to rely on like really what it is to drive away from a lot of these moments with your best friends. And you're reminded of why you do it. And it's not about looking the next day and realizing that the Instagram is performing and that the press inquiries are coming in. It's just that like, there's going to be a piece, you know, like Wheel of Misfortune or some of these other like land art pieces that will, you know, be around for quite a long time. And it's a hell of a feat. Like, people just start fucking with that, you know? We're friends, you know? It looks like y'all are friends too. It's like, that's really important that we're friends. The best moments are like in between, like it's all the riffing and stuff going on. All of these are really rewarding to do, and obviously the more thoughtful the pieces, the less of an immediate impact it's gonna have. Like, I thought that one we did, Alldayerrydaybaby, was like really thoughtful. It was a lot of work, a lot of time investment to just 0 coverage.
Yeah.
Which is fine.
Because you're also kind of gauging public interest too. Like, I've been in the same position where I make a video that's like extremely low effort, but it's very topical, like the Free Luigi rally, for example. I go there, I interview maybe 15 people in Washington Square Park who were there to advocate for Luigi's freedom, or, you know, at least raise concerns about the health insurance claim denial system, right?
I said Luigi been a dawn since he put his pampers on. Vagabonds ran out the mouth like a marathon.
That gets like 3 million views in one day. Took me no time. I can spend a year on a documentary about an endangered language or something that isn't like at the center of public discussion, and it will have a harder time gaining traction.
But you know what? It's going to be well into your career that those pieces start to rear their head, and there will be so much value to those. Trust me, because we're starting to see that. You know, like we had our big art retrospective at Super Chief last fall.
Yeah, Channel 5 and Indecline collaboration, by the way.
That's true, first time. And it was like, it was when I started to realize, like, oh, you know, people haven't really fucked with El Trolato or some of these projects until now. And when I was talking to people, or Bill and some of the gallery folk, like, you started to realize, like, yeah, everyone knows about the Naked Trump shit, you know, like they've known about that. So that's worn off. It's what else has this group done? And it's a part of the discovery process for me. When I'm first introduced to a band or a filmmaker or like an author, I love doing the deep dive. I love seeing what they're a part of, and that's some of my favorite artists ever are the ones that are always on some different shit, you know? And so I like that we have this body of work where you don't know what your entry to In Decline was. It could have been through graffiti, it could have been from our theatrical background. But at some point you're gonna like start to hit all those little things and be like, damn, I didn't even know y'all like rappelled off buildings and did this or whatever.
And the cultural zeitgeist. And I feel like y'all have witnessed the transformation of the kind of cannibalistic PC culture and tearing down people upon lines of what could be deemed offensive. I feel like you guys have successfully rode that wave throughout 2 different decades.
Yeah, well, not without controversy. You know what I mean? Like, we always talk about this. We talk about, like, you know, Eminem and some of the things that was like, that we're blasting out of our bedrooms as kids. Totally normal. Like, parents weren't batting an eye. The Lollapalooza, you know, frickin' Fred Durst era. Just like how much intensity there was then. And then, yeah, like it seemed like we all blinked and something happened.
I think the reality of a lot of like the fascist undercurrents that were being discussed got super real, and there was kind of this idea of like, all right guys, no time for jokes, no time for games, like we need to be very serious and very presentable And I think the fence sitters, like the neoliberals that today are condemning the ICE riots, had a lot of headway between 2017 and 2020.
Here's the thing, is that there's like kind of two parties. There's like neoliberalism, which is everything up until now. And then there's like at least this proto attempt at like whatever, you know, if there's like the history repeats as a comedy or as a tragedy and then as a comedy, we're kind of in comedy fascism mode. But neoliberalism pretty much since like the 70s, it's like the two parties, I've heard you talk a lot about this and it's something I feel really profoundly, they actually want the same things. Republicans make a tax cut, Democrats extend it. Republicans increase policing, Democrats follow right behind and try to do the same thing. Republicans attack education, Democrats become right behind them and try to like rename the program but keep it basically intact. The project of neoliberalism has been a one-party system for a very long time. They're trying to attack education while they increase the surveillance state. And so I think that like there's this inability on the left to confront, because the left is a little bit more divided in how it shares power. There is a lot of like identity positioning on the left. And so even in Europe, you see it more literally. There's these coalition governments where several parties will have to get together. But the way that the left disperses power, they're usually signing up for a lot of stuff they don't want to do, and they get very, very absorbed in like the ideology of what they're doing more than the practicality. And it goes into like, it's a lot of white collar, it's a lot of like middle class, a lot more education in the party. There's something they could learn from kind of like the blue collar roots that they originally came from, like FDR era. And also that's something that has made the Republican Party very successful, is there's a pragmatism to what they do. You could say the pacification, but I would even say it's too like intellectual. And it's like, you need to touch things with their hand.
I think gentrification here is a huge through line too when it comes to like what you're talking about. Because like I grew up in the inner city, right? And like none of those like base level identitarian divisions really took hold because we all had respect for each other. If you look now, what seem to be the most progressive leftist neighborhoods in the country are also the front lines of gentrification. If you go to Bed-Stuy in New York, you will see more flags for leftist causes than anywhere else in the country. Happens to also be the front lines of the class war. So I think there's some kind of like reverse white flight guilt complex that's creating like a corrosive, cannibalistic, self-destructive mechanism here. I could be crazy, but it does seem that way.
A lot of it's just branding too, you know, whether it's conscious or subconscious. I feel like some of these things just like follow suit as they need to, and some of it's posturing, and you know, and then some of it is guilt. Yeah, it's definitely like ever apparent in any of those cities. Yeah, you go, especially over in like Brooklyn and stuff.
Yeah, and y'all never cave to any of that sort of thing, and you guys have stayed consistent for quite a long time.
I think like there's not enough time for it, you know. I just we haven't even worked hard at, we like to stay independent. I have a firm belief that people can contribute in a myriad of ways to these causes. Some people do it with their wallets, some people go out like we did and get tear gas. That's not really like my go-to personally. I'll fuck with it from time to time, you know, but like I know what my strengths are. Same with him, like, so we try to stay in our lane. It's like just one big game of tug of war, you know, and I always just tell people, just get your fucking hands on the rope. That's all that matters. If you want to get a puffy paint sign and stand in front of Hobby Lobby, whatever. Like, we shouldn't be sitting here and like criticizing.
So there's no bad protest, right?
I don't think there's any bad. Don't hurt anybody, you know? I mean, but like, at the end of the day, like, just get out there and do something, because the apathy is what kills us.
Yeah. You guys have mentioned two different undercurrents that kind of occurred around the same time. You mentioned surveillance and then also corporatization. So surveillance, 9/11 is definitely the start point of that. I think corporatization, like you were mentioning, is like the post-Reagan, late 90s. I wasn't really around then. Can you guys speak to the difference in that timeline?
Well, it's the entirety of what we do is like culture damage. So here's another weird wrinkle. In the 2000s, the big thing on the left was like the protest globalization. And then, yeah, exactly. That's like how it started. Like, I remember being young and like being at protests like that and working with like Food Not Bombs, because that was one that was around. It's become kind of like co-opted by these huge corporations, and these huge corporations are almost out of this phase of capitalism into this weird vector economy where it's not like we're buying stuff. The dream isn't the TV dream anymore. It's not The Simpsons, buy the house, buy the car, buy all the things. It's like we are literally selling our engagement online. We're selling our personality and getting fed with, I thought money was a silly construct, but it's like a little heart on a screen is getting crazy, and that's where people's whole definition comes. That's why there's a lot of the like clicktivism and stuff now, because you get more reward and it's a much stronger drug. You know, it's like to get that immediate endorphin rush when you post something and 20 people hit you up because everybody's living in their same bubble. There's something to that in that, like, information is passed. Sometimes it's passed in that kind of way that would be going to, like, the virality or even the meme. You know, that's Richard Dawkins back in the 70s writing about it. But at the same time, it's like some things that we do, just like getting your hands in it, it's like there's two things every kid should be forced to do, you know? I would say the third thing is maybe some type of psychedelic, but I don't actually think that's good for everybody.
Infant microdose, not enough.
Yeah, but a microdose, but
like the Rainbow
every
family.
kid should go to a protest and get tear gassed once.
Okay.
Just to know, like, how fragile all this is, this world we live in, you know? And to know that, like, what it feels like to be on the edge in that fear, because that's what tear gas does, is it puts the fear in you your first time. To know what it would feel like to lose that. And every, you know, kid should have to go out and work a soup line and just see how human the people are, because we live in a first world country, the wealthiest nation on earth, that in any major cities has pockets of a third world country. And we wake up every day, and on the left especially, we're so certain about what's right and wrong. And yet the phone in your pocket has rare metals that come from a mine. You buy a new one every year, the amount of suffering that comes out of that. So many different things that we do every day just have faceless, distant suffering. Doesn't mean we should like sit here, like I'm not into the guilt complex. We're into self-awareness and interrupting the kind of auto feed of just doing whatever's in front of you.
Right.
The instant endorphins, the clicks. That's what culture jamming's about.
Totally.
That's what consciousness is about. Yeah.
Who were the foundational members of Indecline?
Well, without getting into legal names, I mean, Aware was obviously one of the founders, myself, and then we had two other friends that are no longer a part of the crew that were
I know how that goes.
Yeah, I mean, which is, you know, like anybody that's been in a band, you know knows how that goes.
Yeah.
And it wasn't even so much a breakup as it was like some of us got older and realized that we were in it for the long haul, and other people wanted to start families and go work in like tech or something, you know?
Totally.
It was just like a gradual parting of ways. But yeah, I mean, Aware and I were the remaining kind of like founding faction.
And can you talk about that first project that really put y'all on the map?
The first project put us on the map? Well, I mean, it depends. Like one of the first things we ever did was a McDonald's billboard here in Vegas.
7 hours ago, McDonald's Corporation ordered the billboard company to take these things down. It's 11:06 right now. Take a look. This billboard up here says sausage McMuffin with E. coli, not egg, and this is not the only one in town. The signs are altered so well that you may not even notice when you drive by.
We pay attention to the signs. I mean, I see McDonald's, that's it. I don't read what they say.
Which was national news coverage. But it wasn't long after that bum fights came out. And that was its own, like, wake up one day and think, what the fuck did we just do? One of the many misconceptions about it is that most of the content in that was filmed in the years, you know, when we were 15, 16, 17 years old, and then sort of compiled later as a part of this bigger video. So to sort of watch those things like retroactively almost like blow up the way it did, like you've seen it for years, you know, and then you put a new thing on it, you send it out, and then Howard Stern mentions it, and it's like, oh, things are changing.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, I look back at content that I made when I was 21 years old, and I'm like, fuck, I wish I didn't make that video. I can't imagine 15, 16, 17.
I think that, yeah, it was a really, like, it's a fascinating time to look back on, because when you're that age, I mean, this was, the premise was very simple. It was like, we're all skate rats. We're just, like, we're gonna go skate where we don't get fucked with. Where is that? Behind grocery stores. Who hangs out behind grocery stores? Homeless people. So who do you become friends with? Who are you like fucking around with all day? You know, like the local homeless guys that you're seeing every day at your skate spot. We didn't have skate parks at that particular. They hadn't started building those yet, really, for everybody. And so we were still on the loading docks. And so it was like these two subcultures, you know, essentially that like needed to go somewhere where there was shade and places to piss and hang out and do your thing. At that time, you had high 8mm like super affordable cameras. Everyone got their hands on them, and it was just like, all right, cool. This dude's doing a skate trick. This dude's over here doing some crazy shit, and it all just like developed into tapes and tapes and tapes of crazy shit until one idiot had the idea of putting it all together and taking every high school fight that we'd filmed, and then going out for however many weeks here in Vegas, and then releasing it to the world. And yeah, to say that like, there's been projects we've done where I've known the second it's like the Trump statues, like it was a no-brainer. Like the second this is done, it's gonna fucking go nuts. There was no expectation with that. And to like watch that do what it did was pretty wild, especially at a time where like VHS tapes were the main output, you know.
Yeah,
like,
did you guys shoot that on VX cameras?
We shot some of the final stuff on VX cameras, but a lot of it was shot on high 8 tapes.
Okay, cool.
So like most of that source material is like dates way back to like 8mm and high 8 tapes. So we're talking like 97, 98, you know, like, and then VXs came later. Yeah, and it's like a different, like one of the misconceptions too is that you have to like dial back to the 90s to know what it's contemporaneous with. Just to give context where maybe the impetus came from, it was like the era of Girls Gone Wild, Tom Green, Jackass, like all these things that like were influencing it.
That's
and
my
at the
time.
Same time, it was like Gummo, and you have like all these kind of weird
Gummo
films
changed
because
me.
you know obviously that's an influence too. So this crazy, even down to like Un Chien Andalou, you know, and so it's this kind of like heavily shocking, and then you're living in this counterculture, and then all these
Ali
places,
G.
Southern California, Las Vegas, had
Borat.
perfected the dream versus underbelly dichotomy that you have going. And if you are doing skateboarding, it's different. There's no Nigel Houston. The X Games are like just starting, you know? It's like Tony Hawk is not the level of famous he is. Tony Hawk's Pro Skater is just coming out. It was a lot more of a countercultural activity. This is one thing I would like to address, and maybe you can help out with, because like I've watched, and I went and like, for example, Dear Kelly, you have this entire thing where you're spending time with this person. Now, there's a lot of people who, for example, might be on the left and watch what you do and think that you're just like taking the piss out of them, but when I view that stuff and listening to the way you talk about it, I think there's a real sensibility of like caring. Politics hasn't always been the most important thing. I think there's some of that in this too, that it wasn't like this antagonistic relationship. It was like you said, you're hanging out together. There's real relationships there, you know? We even go to say friendships with a lot of the people.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I remember sitting in court playing tapes from multiple years worth of Thanksgivings and Christmases and explaining to like the prosecutor, like there's a reason this isn't in the video. There's a reason that one of the main pieces of evidence that we introduced that got us out of a lot of trouble was the raw footage of Aware and I breaking up a fight, and you could audibly hear us saying stop, stop, and we played that in court, and the judge was like, what's the problem? And we just we're like, we're not going to put that, like we weren't interested in doing a fucking documentary at 16 years old.
Yeah.
You know, and then flash forward to being like 18, 19, like we were growing up watching, like, I mean, Gummo couldn't have been more influential. Like, so for us, it's like, this is our Gummo. Like, let's make something that, sure, we'll call it a cause for concern. That's the in decline part of it. That's the, like, if you look at that subtitle, that's that little, like, we're making a statement, but really it's going to be 50 minutes of what the fuck, man. Like, this is it. And we followed up with It's Worse Than You Think, which was a lot more, I think, like, pointed and sort of an accurate depiction of saying, like, this is what we were trying to do. We should have never called it bum fights, frankly. I think that was the biggest fuck up.
I think the title fucked it up, but it also led to a lot of sales too. But if you watch the video, there's no time in the movie where you're paying bums to fight.
Exactly.
There's like people fighting in high school, you guys skating, and then bums just doing shit.
And it was like the word, but you're right. If it weren't for that name, you know, we could have called it something completely different, but that name did everything. And, you know, the irony is that it wasn't out for 6 months, maybe 4, and the 4 in decline people that were associated with it, we all just sold the rights to it and fucked off. We got rid of it as soon as we possibly could, because we had bigger aspirations, and we were like, okay, this do it again. We don't need this anymore.
So how old were you when you sold the rights?
18.
Damn. So that Dr. Phil interview that most people credit as being an interview with the Bum Fights director and Dr. Phil is not actually you guys.
Not at all. That went into a whole nother realm, and it's like a kind of a different chapter interview completely. But like the fascinating thing about that was when we sold the rights, the criminal and civil investigations were heating up. So you have the people we sold it to who now own the rights to it. So it's in their best interest to get on TV and do the most outlandish press.
Yeah.
Release the sequels and
as a marketing thing.
Yeah. So when they're doing interviews talking about how they've made millions and they've got tigers in their house and they're gonna like, and granted, the Phil thing was brilliant. It was fucking hilarious. But we're catching, even for all everyone knows, it's like it's just the Bum Fights guys, you know. So we had to go face all the fallback from that, and luckily, you know, this is just a lesson to anybody in life, your profession and ours. Don't hit stop. Like, let that camera roll, because it could be the difference, especially this day and age, between a long prison sentence and a judge saying, what's the problem here? These kids can go free. You know, if it weren't for us just like always rolling camera, we wouldn't have hours of that like supplemental footage to go, listen, there's nothing to market here, but you need to understand, like he said, these are people we care about.
Yeah.
You're dealing with two different things. Like most situations, there's another side to this. And like, yeah, I know the easy story here is that like punk skate kids like went and did this thing, but in reality, there is a difference between handing someone $5 in anticipation that they're going to do something to hurt themselves, and spending a day documenting their life, which is going to involve drinking. It's going to involve extracting a tooth, possibly, with or without you there with the camera. Anyone that's been around this knows that. And handing someone that $5 at the end of the day and being like, grab Taco Bell, man, have a good night, we'll see you in you know, whatever. Yeah. And that's just such a fine line for people. And for us, it was another Tuesday night.
Yeah, there's a very special bond between, I think, like teenage delinquents. Like I grew up in Seattle, which is also kind of a lords and peasants style thing, where you have massive glass condominiums and expensive luxury homes, and then you look under a bridge and there's thousands of homeless people doing their thing. There's a special union between kids who want to skate, drink, smoke, kick it, and local homeless people.
Absolutely.
Because you can't go to bars, you can't be in the streets because your parents might find you or get in trouble with the cops. So you become really close friends with the local homeless population.
You really do.
And I remember like every bum that lived near my mom's spot was like my homeboy.
Yeah, well, they look out for you and you look out for them. You know, my particular case, it felt like South Park in the sense that there was like, oh, these are the two dudes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it wasn't like Vegas where there was hundreds of homeless people. I mean, there was just like, there was two guys that everybody in the community knew.
And where was the first scenes filmed?
Well, both places. So Ware was out here, and then other scenes were filmed in the San Diego area.
What were the name of those two dudes?
Rufus and Donnie.
And those are the most famous guys.
Yeah, I mean, and Rufus was introduced to us from, I mean, again, this was like back when we were a lot younger, but it was like the older kids, these older like college kids saying, you know, there's a homeless guy that's like a stunt bum, right? And just putting us on to a guy that like did crazy shit. And like, what 15-year-old, 16-year-old kid isn't gonna like go visit Rufus and be like, what the fuck are we, you know, he's like, oh yeah, this is my deal.
So I just want to, a couple of things too, just while we're talking about it, to give people some peace of mind. We wouldn't do that as like much older people today, because that's part of being like 15, 16, 17. Like, there's no version of today that happens without that. It's so formative in who we are to this day. The anonymity isn't just about like protecting ourselves, but it's also a thing you learn seeing. Like, that was one of the first viral things. That was one of the first cancellations.
Why in the world would anybody buy this thing?
It's like there's a lot of stuff that we didn't have the lexicon, the vocabulary for today, and living it was good for our future. In helping us to be
we didn't have the word cancel until I think 2016, 2018, something. We didn't even know what it was back then. We didn't know we could do it. If I had known, we might have tried to get Bush canceled, but we didn't know. We didn't know. I mean, we didn't know what getting, you fired in the court of public opinion, how powerful it actually could be.
What we want to do 20 years later. There's going to be people who are going to be convinced that we're absolutely awful human beings for that, and completely understand that.
My mother will be like, these people are foul.
No one agrees on everything. We like to think that 20 years of work has shown where our intentions lie, but also understand that everybody's entitled to an opinion. And also, just while we're on it, and for those who think there haven't been consequences, it's like there have 20 years of them. It's like down to it affects your professional life, even your dating life. It's like, it's a huge thing that we have like, and will continue to pay, and also just like, aren't even complaining, because like, we've reached a moment where we do things that we believe in. Anybody who's trying to do art that's gonna push the edge of culture or be there is going to fuck up at times. We're not perfect people. Some friends of ours said, heroes are human, you know? And sometimes humans are trash. And it's like, even with our best intentions, we even make mistakes that would be the first. There's projects we've done, and I'm sure that you've done that, going back, wouldn't do that again, you know?
Yeah, I used to feel bad. I used to like, you know, my earlier style was kind of ambush oriented when I first started, because that was the easiest way to make a name for yourself. Is like, I wasn't trying to make people look stupid, but I felt bad because I would present as like a friend to somebody, but deep down I like deeply disagreed with them and like wanted to lampoon them in some capacity. I was 21, not 16, but I look back and think, man, I wish I would have like kept it more real, and at least even just told them, hey, I'm trying to make a funny documentary. I'm not asking for your serious opinion about the flat Earth.
You might not be sitting here though if you did that, and that's the thing about like kickstarting a career when you're young is, you know, we jumped headfirst into this. We bypassed all formal training. We bypassed all the necessary education. We became, you know, sociologists and documentarians and all these things at a young age just because it was fascinating. One of our first projects was like, on one hand, a massive thing, but also...
So this goes on for a long time, and I've got to stop here, guys. I'm terribly sorry. My session's over. I'm going to bed, you know, because I woke up today at like 4 in the morning. I've been going all day for a long time. We got a 18-hour recording. I didn't even realize. So thank you so much, guys. I'm going to put 18 hours onto my YouTube now. I'm going to stop this video with a reminder that you've been watching Skycat Live. I'm a full-time variety gamer all day, every day. Put me on in the background. Click on the cast face to donate. Come to the Twitch or the YouTube. Give me a like, sub, or a follow. You know, thank you so much to Glorbus for the resub. They've been sub for 10 months. Thank you, Glorbus. Here's the heart sign for Glorbus. You know, I sent him a personalized message. I am very happy to be here, guys, so I'm going to stop the recording now, and I'm going to post it to my channel.